Moin und herzlich willkommen am
Minett Mash-Up,
dem Podcast von der Minett Biosphere und zusammen habe ich beim IKCNCI an dem Moi. Hallo an Moin alle Goe für ein weiterer Episod von Minett Mash-Up, dem Wanderpodcast aus der Minett Biosphere zusammen am IKCNCI, der Industriekultur, an dem Moi, dem Musée von der Erbecht. Mein Name ist Jan, am dabei haut Sinn.
Marike, Anna,
Maria,
an eise Gast, de Mahmoud. Hallo Mahmoud.
hi.
hi.
Wir fokussieren uns für diese Edition vom Podcast ein bisschen ob der Herr das vielleicht auch bloßen. Wir sitzen wirklich mitten an der Naturdiske, ob die zweite Edition vom Jugendforum von der Minett Biosphere. 20 Junker aus Lützeburg, Schweden, Deutschland, Frankreich und Polen sind am Ellergronn zusammengekommen für gemeinsam und einer Sensibilisierungs- und Verhaltenskampagne an den Naturschutzgebieten von eisem Biosphärenreservat zu schaffen. An de Mahmoud ass vun denen Jonken, die hai dabei sinn, méi well de Mahmoud éichter am Englischen doheem ass wie am Lützebäuerchen. Dei Lützebäuer simmer noch net gut, he?
Alles gut.
Yeah.
I think I would prefer in English.
Yes, so then we switch to English. So, Mahmoud, you participated in the first youth forum that the Minett Biosphere organized last year.
Yep.
And you're back this year as participant, counselor, a little bit of both. Could you present yourself?
Hello, so my name is Mahmoud. I'm 26 today and I'm...
Happy birthday!
Thank you. And I'm a public health practitioner with a master's degree right now in environmental sciences. I'm currently trying to merge the two disciplines together and making some meaningful combination between the environmental sciences and the health sciences. That will be a very short description of myself and what I do, I think.
Where are you from?
So I'm from Lebanon, a small country in the Middle East, a country that is very beautiful when it comes to nature, and that has a lot of also environmental challenges, and this is why I grew to and to get intrigued to study more the interconnection between the environmental challenges and the health issues that are arising in the country as well. So yeah.
You've attended last year's forum and you joined the Minett Biosphere as a volunteer afterwards. What do you like most about this Biosphere Reserve?
Oh, that's a very beautiful question. Actually, before speaking about the biosphere, I would like to say that when I came last time to the Luxembourg, I fell in love with Luxembourg, the country itself. And when I came to the biosphere and I saw how the people and the environment live together side by side, yet a bit in different places, like in isolation, I was very interested to study more how the people live here and how we can make a better interconnection between them both. So yeah, I think, and I also liked the area a lot because of the biodiversity that I saw, even though I came in April, but I was able to witness some of the very beautiful biodiversity that is present.
When you were a member of our team, when you volunteered for us, you organized some workshops, and that's why we're happy to have you here on the Youth Forum as an expert. Yesterday you presented the concept of ecosystemic services to the participants. Could you perhaps present that concept to our listeners in some brief words, or isn't it describable in brief words?
Of course it can be. One of the best ways to actually start with defining ecosystemic services and goods is by saying that they are everything, every benefit that we reap from the natural environment. So if we want to think of it as simply as possible, it's just any benefit that we get from the environment, be it a good or a resource that we can touch, like food and resources like natural or mineral resources, or be it a service like the clean air, like the water regulation. So this could be one of the simple definitions of ecosystemic goods and services.
Are all these services interconnected?
Oh yes, they are, because the environment does not work in silos as we do in human communities and societies. Everything is very interconnected. The compartments of the natural environment are very interconnected, and this is where our job as environmental scientists come with the people to show them how interconnected they are, to show the people how important these things are, to appreciate it more and to work for protecting it. So yeah, they are very connected.
And I guess it's also important that you start with the youth, right?
Exactly. And starting with the youth is very important because not only they are the future generations, as cringy as it might sound, but because also it has a lot of influence on the other generations as well, because we are the people who actually take care of the older persons, and we are the people who raise up the younger generation. So I think we are a very important milestone in this community.
By bringing that concept of the ecosystemic services to other people, I sometimes get a rejection.
Mm-hmm.
The rejection of it's not possible to transform nature into the capitalistic thinking.
I see.
Is it true that it's like the capitalistic approach of nature, that ecosystemic service, and couldn't it help to, let's say, convince capitalists that nature has a value and is of the most value we have on this planet?
I think that if you want the very short answer, my answer would be yes, of course. It reinforces the fact that we are capitalizing nature. But on the other hand, if we see that we are not what is being practiced in real life, people do not even appreciate it. So the only way right now, it's a sad truth, but the only way to make people appreciate it more is by putting a price tag on it. Mm-hmm. And the ecosystemic services is one way that we can evaluate it monetarily. So by putting a price tag on the things that we can actually get from the environment. But as I said earlier, it's not the only way that we appreciate the environment and the nature around us. It's one of the many other ways. But yeah, it's one of the main anthropocentric approaches to evaluating the natural environment.
Could you give us a very concrete example? Because this is all very, I understand.
You want to know how much much a breast takes?
It's heartbreaking in a way that you'd even have to put, monetary value on what is nature. But maybe there is a very specific example you can give of some type of measurement or...
Yeah, so I'll try to come up with an example right now that is not very scientifically sound, but that that can actually just bring the idea closer to the listeners and to us. So imagine the air that we are breathing right now and the quality of this air. During the last couple of decades, people did not really care a lot about the quality of air, and we took it for granted. That has created a lot of environmental problems, and climate change is one of the manifestations of these problems. If we just so how can we actually raise the awareness that this air that we are using is not to be taken for granted? Because our Earth has a certain capacity to regulate itself. It's not like we can regulate more and more forever. It's not an infinity. There's like a specific limit. So in order to quantify this number, the scientists have developed multiple approaches, and they do not specifically agree with each other's. And they have started to calculate this number that can be attributed, or the quantity of money that can be attributed to the quality of air. And this is what can be used.
So what's the price of clean air?
Oh, that's a very tough question.
It's priceless, isn't it?
It is priceless, to be honest. It's but it also depends on the place that we are talking about and the type of the disturbance that we are causing. So it's pretty much very dependable on the factors of the case itself, of the scenario. But yeah, at least we have a methodology now to actually internalize, as we call it, the price of the environmental goods into our processes, so that we don't take it for granted as if it's for free, because it's not for free.
It's fascinating.
Okay, so you've not only been volunteering at the Minett UNESCO Biosphere, but you've also been an Erasmus student at the University of Luxembourg. So probably you've spent quite some time in Belval. What were your first thoughts when you arrived there?
It's a very interesting place to be. It's industrial, but in a new way. It's full of young people. The architecture is inspiring, and the places are just so beautifully put around. And yeah, it's just a thing maybe related to Luxembourg. How many opportunities for learning and growth you can find around you. I really find it very interesting how the past, the blast furnaces, and the future are intertwining in a way, and how the architects and the landscape designers are trying to put some nature inside this very industrialized and urban area. Okay. So I think it was very interesting for me the first time I arrived there.
And you explained the concept of ecosystemic services. Could it also be implied in Belval, and if so, how?
Oh, the concept of ecosystemic services can be applied everywhere, anywhere, at any time.
Okay.
If we want to speak about Belval, I would suggest maybe that one of the ways in which we can apply the concept would be related to the amount of emissions that we are producing there, the heat regulation around the area, because it's very concrete at the moment, if I may say. Maybe if we can just monetize the amount of heat regulation there and start appreciating or calling for more plantation of trees in the area, because it's very gray. I don't like the word, but it's a bit very concrete. If we add some of the greenness, it would decrease the temperatures and the heat absorption and retention in the area, I think. Also, one of the things that could be also interesting in that regard, I'm just brainstorming right now. I've never thought about it.
We're taking notes and we're going to send it straight to the Grand Duke. So
yeah, maybe when it comes to goods, I'm not able to think about any, but I'm just thinking about how interesting it could be also to incorporate the young people in the process of making the change, because I see and I heard a lot of students who really are interested in bringing that change and bring about the change and the transition.
But all the things you mentioned, shouldn't they have been implemented, in your opinion, right from the beginning? Belval is a quarter that's now 20 years old. The construction began like 20 years ago. So was it too short on thought?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think that maybe there should be like a measurement when initiating such an urban project, a thought regarding the environmental services and ecosystemic services, but I'm not sure if it is actually implemented nowadays widely. I don't know, I'm not very into that domain, but I don't think, from my personal opinion, it's very implemented, and it's not always late. We can always brainstorm how we can improve the landscape, and things can be improved at any time.
Was the concept known 20 years ago, ecosystemic services?
I believe that the concept has started to become known ever since the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken, but it was widely more used starting from the 2000 and coming forward. So I don't know if that was the case in Luxembourg when it comes to urban planning and design.
Maria is shaking her head.
Yes. No, that is a topic that's now it's very important for all projects, urban planning. But yes, 25 years ago or 20 years ago, it was not in like a topic important.
It's crazy, isn't it? If you think that it's, you know, we're always, it's too late already. I mean, there's still hope, but it's 5 to midnight, as they say, and it's crazy that a concept from the 70s, you know,
was not used until a few years ago.
Yeah.
You start waking up basically when it's already...
When we got the slap from climate change, basically, because that's how we humans work.
Yeah.
When we get a negative feedback from someone, that's when we know that we have to do something about it.
When now we realize, oh crap, it's really actually very warm.
It's serious. The fire is in the house, as we say.
Yeah.
And so all these concepts could also be applied to other planned locations with an historical background.
It depends on what we're speaking. If we're speaking about...
We have like other abandoned steel mills, like in Schifflange or in Dudelange.
Oh yeah, that would definitely be applied. When we are talking about the old mining sites, it would definitely be applied by means of protecting what is left from the biodiversity, because biodiversity biodiversity protection and regulation is one of the main ecosystemic services that we can get from the environment. So and the mining sites are actually one of the disturbances to this biodiversity. So of course some of these mining sites I already also brought about during my volunteering here at the Minett UNESCO Biosphere, some of the ideas that can be implemented in that regard. For example, the iron standing structures inside the forests that can be actually painted with some material that actually isolates them from rusting and from eroding into the soil, because it's actually also just affecting the quality of the soil, and soil fertility is also one of the ecosystemic services. You see, ecosystemic services are pervasive, they're everywhere. You can, if you start thinking about it, it just never ends. So
but Anna, didn't you speak rather in an urbanistic point of view?
Yes, as Maria.
Maria, yes.
No, it's urbanistic, but for the moment there are a lot of projects, and it would be nice to have an expertise about this before starting.
That would be a very thoughtful act in an urban project, and I think that one of the best ways is to actually construct a matrix of how this urban project might affect and how the environment itself was before the urban project, and then compare how the things are going to be before and after. So this would be one of the entryways on how the ecosystemic services can be not compromised in the light of an urban project. But I honestly don't know a lot about green architecture and green urbanization, because I don't come from that background, but I don't know how much or to what extent these are being applied nowadays, at least in Europe.
Yeah, work. Question. Mahmoud, I have some work-related questions for you. You are a young
Scary.
Lebanese scientist. Well, you've lived in different countries, you've studied in
5.
Milan. Okay, tell me, please. I was going to list a few, but not 5.
Oh, which ones do you know? Let's compare our
Milan.
data. Yeah?
Luxembourg.
And? So I was born and raised in Lebanon. I moved to Africa, to the Ivory Coast. I lived with my dad for quite a while. And then I moved back to Lebanon to do my higher education, where I studied public health. And then I left for Italy to do my master's degree in environmental sciences. And then I came back here to Luxembourg to do my volunteering, my internship. And now I'm doing my Erasmus in Copenhagen.
Oh my gosh.
5 countries, 3 continents.
Yeah, so a very broad spectrum.
That's a bit about me.
So you must have experienced a lot of different approaches to work and the whole work-life balance. Could you give us some observations from the different places?
That's such a very interesting question. I always get these thoughts to myself, and I almost always thought to myself, oh, I should write these down one day or tell them to someone, because it's very interesting. When I travel a lot, I see how the perspectives change between cultures and communities. I think one of the ways in which the lenses I used to look at it is the contrast between the process and the end product. And in some countries, it seems that the end product is not mainly the thing that they are interested in. And this was quite interesting for me.
That's not Luxembourg, probably, is it?
No, not Luxembourg. But in some countries, like my country, for example, the countries that really appreciate the bureaucracy, the process was almost always more important sometimes than the end product itself, even though there exists some other approaches to reach the end goal. The process had to be performed the way it is, rather than bringing something new to the table. So I thought that this is one of the things that I observed and found very interesting. Another thing that I found really interesting was the fact on how people perform their duties. In a lot of cultures, I realized that this was related also to their work-life balance, as you put it, and the fact that, okay, so coming from a very developing countries during my uprising, I found it a bit weird at the beginning. Oh, people here are very chilled and relaxed. This is not very productive. But now, having been in developed countries for like almost 3 years now, I feel like, oh, really we might be missing the work-life balance, and this is why we're not really performing very well when it comes to end products in our countries. So yeah, I think that this multicultural experience has been very eye-opening.
So you would also be, sorry Jan, like an advocate for I don't know, cutting down on the work hours a week.
Yeah, and also maybe adding some fun to the process itself, especially when it comes to Denmark now, because they
they're not having fun.
They are the most happy people I've ever seen. They throw a party to every single thing. You call it. I wrote a paper. Let's throw a party. I closed the door. Let's throw a party. Everything. Let's throw a party. Very happy, very motivated people. I like it.
And also because then the productivity increases anyway, right?
Because
when we're
it comes
happy.
on the way. You're not thinking about productivity anymore.
Yeah.
It's just a thing that comes through the road. It's not the road. So yeah, I think that the fun itself, the journey itself would be more important if you enjoy it.
Yes, young people today, they are thinking about this. They see the parents, they work hardly. It's only, in this way. Yeah. And they say, no, it's not my life. I like to have more relax, and this work balance, it's very important as a subject for young people.
Exactly, especially with us, like the generation, I don't know if I'm called Generation Z or Millennial. I don't know. But because there's also this idea of working smart and not working hard.
Yeah.
And it is actually goes hand in hand with the work-life balance thingy. And yeah, so I think it's...
Damn it, I missed that generation. I'm definitely not in it.
I mean, age is just a feeling. If you have it in your heart, you're already in the family.
So you seem to really believe in the energy of the young generation and its ability in making a positive societal change. I feel like more and more young people are motivated to engage professionally in environmental work. Is this true? Is my feeling correct?
Yes, I have sensed this in multiple ways across different countries and with different societies and communities. The people are starting to appreciate more the environment and are starting to want to know more. Because actually, I think one of the best things that is coming along right now is the fact that the interdisciplinarity concept is coming along, and that everything that we do in our daily life, be it work or studies or anything, they always incorporate these new ideas of interdisciplinarity. So they are including environment, health, society, culture, policy, everything together. Because in real life, we don't perform in silos. We are a more complex fabric of everything together. And this is where I think it comes to manifest. Because if we keep the environmental sciences aside, you're studying butterflies and animals. I was one of these people one day who think that, why do people actually care about salamanders in Madagascar? Like, who really cares about a species of I don't know what? And then look at me right now finalizing my environmental science degree and having understood how everything in life, like literally everything, is very interconnected, is very interesting. And this is where we need to stress upon this idea that we are not silos. The environment is not something aside, like something that we get aside. It's a part of the equation.
It's a part of us.
Yes.
We are the environment. We are part of the biosphere, and the biosphere is part of the nature. So yeah, technically.
Do you have any tips or tricks or advice for a young person who is environmentally conscious and who wants to get in it professionally?
I would say, so let's go back to the beginnings. I would say the first thing is to read. As simple as it sounds, to read more, to get to know more. Because I know that we all think that we know a lot about everything in the age of mass misinformation, if I may portray it as that. We might think that we know what nature is. We might think that we know how we are disturbing the environment and to what extent this is serious. But to a big part, I think that we are missing out on a lot of other things. So maybe if we read more and indulge ourselves in what we feel, it would be very interesting. This is how I chose my major, because I personally thought about becoming an environmental. I didn't think about becoming an environmental scientist in the first place, but I was very interested because I observed a huge peak of cancer cases in my country, and this is so different from environmental sciences, you see. And I started asking myself, so why is this happening only in my region and not in other regions? And so this curiosity has led me to read more, and reading more I realized, so my region was hit on by a lot of wars and chemical contamination of the soil. Maybe these are related. So I need to read more in that regard. What do I need now to know more? How do I know more? Do I need to ask someone? Do I need to pursue a degree? Is there a degree that's actually related in that regard?
Is there a youth forum that you could attend?
Exactly. And then I started my degree with the aim to know more. And this is how I ended up becoming an environmental scientist without having the intention to become one. So yeah, I think if they only follow their purpose and their curiosity almost always leads to very beautiful endings.
Amen. I have nothing left to say.
It was a very, very, very strong last word. Thanks, Mahmoud, for your participation in this episode of the Minett Mash-Up. We free you now so that you can go back to the youth forum, to the workshops.
Thank you.
And give some more input.
And birthday celebration.
And celebrate your birthday for the rest of the day. The Podcast ist aber noch nicht so ganz rüber, weil neben dem Mahmoud sie eine ganz Reihe anderer Junker haben, die bei der zweiten Edition vom Jugendforum von der Minett Biosphere Ellergronn dabei sind, die wirklich alle Guten am Gange sie fleißig unter Sensibiliséierungscampagne für Naturschutzzonen am Süden zu schaffen. Ich ging proposieren, live Matt-Mashers, dass man mal einfach gucken gehen, da die Workshops blicken zu können.
Let's go!
And as promised, we have also some participants of the Youth Forum that are joining us in this podcast, like Sweetie. Sweetie is one of the participants from Luxembourg. Can you please introduce yourself a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. It would be my pleasure to inform me about me here. I am Jan already explained, I'm from the Luxembourg. I'm basically from India. And about this forum, I want to say I enrolled in this forum, and earlier I was not knowing about what is going to be happen in this event. Because it was new for me, first time I am coming to this event, but really it is very brainstorming. Many ideas we are getting about the nature, how the biosphere important for us, how should I be responsible for that? Indirectly, what impact I'm giving to the nature. And for my point of view, it is just going on my forum. I'm learning day by day with the experience, with the activities, and this is conveying the message I should be careful about that.
Mm-hmm. So do you have already gotten a feeling of what biosphere reserves should do in this world to guide people to, to what they should do?
So you can say we are the biosphere. We are the part of this. And it is giving us all the things we need to survive. Without this, we can't live out the life. Even we are also evolved in this because of this all ecological processes. We are extremely very important. If any substance in the ecology system, if any insect will not be here, then we can think about our life. It can be danger for us because we all live in the ecosystem. This all are connected with us. And if we will hurt it in any indirect way, putting the trash in that, so it just will come to us. It will, because the biosphere will complete its cycle. It will recover it. But we will be impacted with that. Until now, people is not thinking about that. What we are going to take back. We are just doing the activity, not thinking what can be the result with that. Because we are getting it very freely. We are getting the biosphere services like water, air, and the like enjoyment, refreshment, whatever we are just getting very freely, and we are not thinking how much precious this is.
Not respecting it enough.
Yeah, we are not, you're very right, we are not respecting it enough. If we will see, like, if we will go somewhere, if we will pay something for this, then we give more importance. Like, if we are going to the ecological park and doing there any survey, we need to pay for that. And then we understand the value for that. But here we are getting freely. So we are not just giving attention to that our responsibility should be for that. For thinking. Yeah. Like whatever we are seeing the nature today, whatever the climate we are facing today, it is, if we will see in the past, like before the Industrial Revolution, the nature was not like this. The climate was not like this. It was little quite different. In the summer season, like I am from the India, then there is like April, May, June, July. You will get hot season, summer, and after that rain will come in the July. But now this is quarterly quick changing. Like in the July the rain is not coming, and if it is coming, then it is full the way of flood.
Yeah, that's happening right now as well.
Yeah, it is happening. And because I am from India, I have experience from there. We are more dependent on the agriculture, and if the flood came, then it is not quite good for the crops.
Exactly.
We need in a very sequence, in the adequate amount of rain as well. If the flood is coming, all are washed away, and it is giving so much economic negatives to the farmers as well. So they are also moving towards the industrialization. They are leaving their job even. They are leaving the farming. So climate is exactly, it is changing. It is not quite as it was earlier, and the main thing it changes is, I think this is the anthropogenic changes. With the human-made changes, we are doing these changes. With the not preserving the biosphere, not thinking about it, cutting down the trees, making more material like woods, and we are going in a way that without thinking about the nature, sometimes against the nature.
I would be interested to know what you do in life when you are not participating in a youth forum.
Very good question. Because I am learning in 2 days, it is just quite changing me. So it is very important question. Like earlier, before 2 years, it certainly started before 2 years. Before 2 years, if someone will say me like, are you serious about nature? So it will be like, yes, but not in the deep detail. I was not knowing this in the detail. I just know that this is our responsibility to save the nature, to protect it. But in these days, which I am learning from 2 years, I was studying about the sustainable finance, and through which I came to know about what the human has made to this climate, what the industry is making to this climate. So from this youth forum, I'm learning about the depthness of the biosphere.
Thank you so much, sweetie. Thank you for that kind words of yours.
You're welcome.
Let's go on with Elvira. Elvira came from all the way down from Sweden. So you're living close to or in a Swedish biosphere reserve?
Yes, or close to at least. But it's a lot different from this. It's not quite in the city in the same way. Which is interesting when coming here and realizing that the inner part of the city can also be a biosphere, and something I think we want to convey that message with the signs and the things we are making right now.
So how did you learn about this youth forum, and what interested you in participating?
Well, it was actually my biology teacher that said that this was happening and thought that I should apply. And then luckily I got accepted. And well, I've always been interested in environmental change and climate change overall. I want to become a scientist in the matter. And so I applied and didn't quite know what I was expecting, but I always like meeting new people and sharing knowledge. And discovering nature in other parts of the world.
So you're still a student?
Well, I just graduated,
Okay.
but that was from upper secondary school. So in the fall, I'm going to start studying environmental sciences at Lund, at the university.
Amazing.
Well, I really look forward to it.
You could imagine to have nature protection being more than just a personal commitment for yourself.
Yes.
Doing
I
it
would like
professionally.
Yeah, exactly. My dream is to save the world, but that's maybe a bit ambitious. Yeah.
I think that's a good plan for work-life balance too.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's fascinating to me because you're all on the cusp of choosing your professional life, and obviously the environmental issues are deeply ingrained in you.
Yes.
So it's almost like you don't ask yourself the question, oh, what do I want to do with my life? You are passionate and determined.
Yes.
Did it just evolve naturally? Was there something that was there like a
trigger?
A trigger, thank you.
I don't think there was a specific trigger. I think it's always been there. I've always been a lot out in the woods and forests with my family. And then when I learned about what we are doing and also seeing trees being cut down around where I live, it made me sad and it made me want to act and learn more. Yeah. So I guess in school, when you learn about the Arctic's melting and stuff like that. Yeah.
So from an industrial point of view,
Yes.
is there an industrial background past in your country, and were there or are there also large industrial enterprises?
I guess it was the biosphere which we represent. It was the same place as you used to put the garbage in our town. So there were a lot of pollutants before, and they've cleaned it. And as in many places of the world, there's always an industrial enterprise, and you want to benefit from the ground. But I think and in Sweden we have a lot of problems with deforestation and a not so healthy way of using our forests. We don't really plant them back the way they grew before. So we brag about planting trees and planting more trees than we cut down, but it's in a monocultural way, which is not beneficial for the ecosystem.
Okay.
Have you heard about the recent European decision to replant a certain percentage of the European forests?
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I don't know that much about it.
I think it's very new, but it was very good
It
news.
passed Parliament a few days or a few weeks ago. It's to renature like 30% of the continent. So to get it back into its natural state that used to be there before man intervened. And so there's lots of work, if I understood correctly, to do in Sweden in that point.
Yes, I think so at least.
Might have to shut down, the famous shop.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we can use the forest, but we need to do it in a better way than we do in Sweden right now. Yeah.
Okay, so generally, what are you expecting from the 2 last days of this forum?
Well, I expect to see some actual signs and learn more, as I've already learned a lot. But get to know the other people even better, and we'll see if we can actually make a change in this great habitat that we have been so fortunate to visit.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Elvira, thanks, sweetie.
Thank you. All the best to you.
It's a very good time with you.